What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están, boys? Here, welcome back to another video here on the channel. And it's kind of like a makeshift setup right now. I'm not in my house. I'm not in my usual kind of environment. And I had planned 2 videos for the time I was away. I'm in another part of Peru visiting family, and I have to have a doctor's appointment and stuff like that. So that's what's going on right now in my life. But I wanted to focus on the game that we saw today in the UEFA Nations League final between Portugal and the Netherlands. I think that this game, in which Portugal won 1-0, can give us a very good insight into different things that Barcelona is not really, thriving under at this current stage. The very first of those is certainly Frenkie De Jong. Frenkie De Jong the other day against England had one of the best performances I've seen of an individual player in the midfield role since people like Xavi and Iniesta, and that's no secret. He played wonderfully well, he had acres of space and did whatever he wanted with England, and he was the main gear that really completely made the Netherlands work like a machine. And that's one of the main reasons why they were able to win that game. But today I think that Fernando Santos, the manager from Portugal, saw that game and analyzed and identified more specifically what had to be done to stop Frenkie De Jong. And that is what I'm talking in this very first part of the video. I want to talk about what do other teams are going to do to stop Frenkie De Jong, because Frenkie De Jong is going to be coming to Barcelona, he's going to be playing amazingly, we all know that, but there's going to be some instances in the Champions League, in La Copa del Rey, in La Liga, against some teams which they're going to know how to mark De Jong. What can they do to stop him? And what Fernando Santos did in this game was use Bruno Fernandes as a kind of man-marking tool, basically, that just completely neglected De Jong. De Jong was constantly frustrated throughout the game and never really had the time to pass it forward. Normally De Jong is a player, and goes through many of the best midfielders in the world, that they do have that kind of idea in their head that they always need to pass the ball vertically, they always need to look to progress the play. And in this game, De Jong couldn't do that, and you could just see how frustrated he was. He wasn't capable of just getting it forward to someone like Depay, to a Quincy Promes, to a Ryan Babel. He always constantly needed to pass it back to Van Dijk, to De Ligt, and then look for the fullbacks. That's a very good setup from Portugal, because they make the main person, the main guy that really makes entire Netherlands teams connect to the forward line. And you can just see how much they suffered in the very first half, because Portugal had around 6 shots in that first half, and Netherlands had 0. They had 0. They didn't have a single shot on target in the very first 45 minutes. And that's just completely absurd for a team of their quality in a final. Needless to say, a team like Netherlands, which is coming back off just banging 3 goals against England. Okay, they were mistakes, but still, it's something which just not normally happens. So it's very good. It's a good indication to see, and basically, what do Barcelona need to expect from our teams, other oppositions, about how they're going to set up against Frenkie De Jong. So that's the main key here, I think, that we can take away from this game. Because if you really cancel out one player, in the case of Frenkie De Jong in this Netherlands side, they don't really look as promising as they could normally be. I think that after that, the Netherlands look kind of very flat, one-dimensional. They didn't look dynamic enough. And that's something that I also want to blame on Ronald Koeman. I mean, Fernando Santos identified the things that he did wrong in the first game against Switzerland. He took away João Felix, the sensation, the young kid that wants to make an impact, but he was just consumed by the environment, by the scenario of the game, by the context. He didn't play as good, so he was taken out, and Gonzalo Guedes came in, and look at what he did. He scored the winning goal, he was constantly playing, he was constantly drifting wide, coming in central, shooting and creating play. He was always there finishing and doing something. So he identified that, and that's a very good praise from someone like Fernando Santos, because he knew that he understands that he doesn't care about what other people are going to say about his decisions. He just cares about winning, and he's instating that mentality onto his players. And that's the thing. Portugal before, let's remember, even way back to like Scolari, they didn't even look as competitive enough. They always wanted to thrive and be the people lifting the trophies, but Portugal have never been that. And now with Fernando Santos, they've gotten the Euros 2016 against France, and then now the Nations League. So they are coming to that level where all of those players believe that they can do stuff, players which believe that they can be competitive. And how do you do that? You gotta demonstrate about, of course, the performances on the field, but also of the manager. And the manager has to be the one communicating that to the players. If you have a manager which is already thinking negatively, everything from there is going to start wrong. The next point that I think that I need to stress from this game is the kind of versatility that the Netherlands use. The very same way with like Fernando Santos trying to adapt and knowing from his mistakes. Someone like Ronald Koeman has another one thing, that he's not afraid also of changing up his tactics. He was a little bit stubborn, like I said, with his mistakes by not introducing other players from the get-go. I think that someone like Quincy Promes should have started 100% over Ryan Babel, because he was so static throughout the game that didn't allow anything of ball basically progression through the left-hand side of the play. That's of the field. That's just that's absurd. So for me, Quincy Promes from the get-go should have played that game, and the same with Donny van de Beek. But apart from that, when you are kind of falling down into those last 10 minutes, the Netherlands introduced Luuk de Jong, and that's the thing that teams like Barcelona are struggling with. And we can see that that is a key which is becoming very, very important in European football at this stage, in this generation. You see teams like Spurs, a team like Spurs that can bring on Fernando Llorente and completely demolish a team like Ajax that we're already winning 2-0 by just introducing a different style of play that the other team cannot cope with. So that's a good thing, you know, that's a good wildcard that you can bring on. And the very same thing with someone like Divock Origi. You have impact players who can be on the bench, not playing any games throughout the season, and when time needs to be, they appear. So that's kind of what the Netherlands try here. And most of the times these things rely and are very difficult for a team that likes to play from the back, a team with good, you know, food and players, you know, that kind of teams like a City, a Netherlands, an Ajax, a Barcelona, they're normally more stubborn. They always want to stick with their style, because if they say, oh, if we win by, you know, long balls and stuff like that, it doesn't look as nice, or the fans are going to be unhappy and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to change it up. You just got to change it up because of the context and everything, and you need to get back into the game. And just one goal with a player like that can change up everything. We see Luuk de Jong entering in the 82nd minute, something like that, and the very first ball he brings it down. It's simply as that, and there was a chance for Donny van de Beek to get it, and even a call out for a handball. That's the sort of things that other teams need to learn with or learn from, like Barcelona. Like I'm saying, we need to have that also ability to bring someone off the bench and be able to create an impact and change it up. That is a thing that I think we've learned kind of with Valverde in some situations, being more pragmatic, but the thing is that you also have the manager to have the attitude to do so. If you have someone like Valverde, and he may want, you know, to bring someone like Luuk de Jong, let's say Barcelona sign Luuk de Jong, and we are, I don't know, we need to equalize against Chelsea to progress to the final, or something like that, okay? And you need someone like Valverde to actually know when to bring them on, because you can have all of the tool sets in your disposal, but it's up to you to know when to use them. So that's the point that I'm making. It's about the managers that can also help you win games. Here I see a team in like Netherlands that against England, the good changes from Koeman get them back into the game. And today I see a team like Portugal, which is competitive and is winning titles because of someone like Fernando Santos. So overall, I think that in some situations, the national teams can actually reflect on the clubs. And that's the point I'm trying to do here. So overall, congratulations to Portugal. You do deserve to be I think the champions of the UEFA Nations League. And I encourage other countries out there to really try this kind of formula out, this competition. Especially like America, for instance. You can have CONCACAF joining with CONMEBOL and having this huge like League of Americas. It would actually be something good and fruitful, I believe. And most of the time our friendlies are between other teams. Like Peru right now, what I'm filming, is going to be playing against Colombia. And then we just saw Brazil playing against Honduras and Argentina playing against Nicaragua. So certainly you can have that because it's already happening. So I encourage that. It's very professional and it adds an extra level of kind of incentive for fans like us to watch the game. So I encourage all other confederations to actually get something going, because friendly games are just boring and we need more games, competitions like the UEFA Nations League. So hopefully guys you have enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop us a like and leave us a subscribe if you did, and leave your comments and opinions in the comment box down below. That's gonna be everything for today. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Ciao.